Hello and welcome back to this tutorial. In this video, we are going to be talking about recursion in Python. Recursion. So what is recursion? Well, recursion simply means when a function calls itself. Yes, so a function can call itself, and Python uses recursion to solve problem bit by bit. So now, in our previous video, we were able to use the reduce function to sum up a certain number, right? In recursion, we can use a function to just give an accumulated figure of a certain list. So this is what recursion can do for you. And if you want to do that, you will have to call that function over and over again, so that for each time it goes through that function, it will go back, call that function, check if the condition that you set has been met, and keep on going over that iterable until the iterable is exhausted. Now, recursion is by no means anything like loop. Recursion does not loop over an iterable. The only thing that is happening in recursion is that when you call the function for the first time, it performs that action, and then it realizes that the action is not yet completed, and then it feels that it needs to call itself again in order to complete that action. So it calls itself, goes back to perform that action until the base case is met. The function will keep calling itself to solve that problem bit by bit. Okay, and in every recursion there will be a base case and a recursive case. So the base case is the condition that will stop the recursion, and the recursive case is the place where the function is solving the problem. Okay, and when the problem is not yet completed, it sees that it needs to call itself again, and it goes back to check the base case and goes back to solve that problem, and then keep repeating until the problem is solved or until the base case is met. So now we are going to write a simple recursive function, and we are going to define a function, and we are going to call it factorial. So this is one very common use of this recursion. Okay, so we are going to call it factorial, and then we are going to open and close our parentheses, and we are going to pass in a number. So here we are going to write our function body. So what are we going to write? So we are going to write a condition, and this condition is going to be the base case. Okay, so we are going to say that if n is equals 1, okay, that it should return 1. So, and like we already did in one of our videos, when you have an if statement and a return statement in your function and you do not write an else block, your next return statement becomes your else block. So now if this condition is not met, Python will now go and check the next block, which now becomes the else statement. So now we are going to return something else. So now this is going to be the recursive case, and this is the base case. So I'm going to comment this. So this is the base case, and this is the recursive case. So now I'm going to write the recursive case. So what is Python returning for us if this base case is not met? So Python is going to return n multiplied by n minus 1. Okay, but before it multiplies this n minus 1, it will call this factorial first. And why does it call this factorial? It will call this factorial to check the base case. Okay, it will call the factorial and check the base case. It will check the base case and now use the n to check if n is 1 or n is not 1. So if n is 1, it will return 1, and if n is not 1, it will now return this n multiplied by n minus 1. Okay, so now we are going to call this function. So we are going to call factorial, and we are going to pass in 6. So we all know the meaning of factorial in mathematics. So I'm going to print this factorial here. So now, so we all know that when you say factorial 6, that what you are going to get is going to be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? So as we pass in 6 here, we are reducing, each time we are reducing n by 1, and we are multiplying again, right? So now I'm going to save this and run. And here we have the value of factorial 6. So assuming we want to sum up this, we can just add the addition operator here, and we have the results. Okay, so now that is a basic application of recursion in Python. We can also perform this recursion on strings. Okay, so, and I'm going to create a string variable. So I'm going to call it string and I'm going to set it to be, well, just Python or something. So, and I'm going to create a function that will reverse this string. Okay, so I'm going to define a function and I'm going to call it reverse, and I'm going to pass in, well, anything, maybe x or s, so for string. And I'm going to check if there is no string again, so if the string is exhausted. Now this is going to be our base case, so here is our recursive case in this case. So I'm going to create a base case. So, and the base case is going to be this condition. So if s equals nothing, so when you pass in this, you are saying that it's a string but an empty string. Okay, then you return the empty string. Then you now write another return statement, and you call the reverse function. And what do you want to do here? So we are going to write our s, and we are going to take the first item of that string, and we are going to pass in the string and the first item on that string up till the last item, right? And then we are going to add that item to, and then we are going to add the 0 index. Okay, so for now we are just going to run this, and later on I will explain what is happening here. So I'm going to print the reverse method, and I'm going to pass in this reverse, and I'm going to enter our string, and we're going to save and run. So we can see that Python has been reversed. So what exactly happens here? What happens here is that Python takes the first string, so it takes out the first string, that is the y, and then with the rest of the string, that is done, right? And then adds the first index, which is p, right? And later on the second go, it takes out the turn, right? And then adds y, right? And then the next time it takes out the HON, and then writes the P, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that by the time it gets to the bottom, you now have something like O here. On the other line, you have something like N. So by the time you align what you have here from ground up, then you have the reverse of Python. Okay, so that is how to use recursion in Python. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one.